Welcome everyone to the Church Outreach weekly webinar and to the 7th out of 7 series on sermon publishing. And today our focus is YouTube channel optimization. And glad you could make it today. So today we're going to just give her a little bit of a recap about where we've been and where we're going, and then we'll spend the bulk of our time looking at some things you can do to make it a little bit easier for people to find your YouTube channel, but primarily making sure that your YouTube channel is set up properly to be aligned with the goal of bringing people back to your church, inviting people to your church, linking people to the accurate place of where they can know how to visit the church. And that includes things like creating a YouTube banner image, updating your YouTube About tab, organizing your videos into playlists, and then adding channel tags and keywords to your YouTube channel. You're actually going to see it's simple stuff. It doesn't even really take that long, but it's sometimes confusing to know where to look in the YouTube interface. So I think that's probably going to be the biggest challenge that we need to overcome. And I do really hope that these webinars are helpful to all of you. I was just kind of reflecting this morning, just kind of on some things I'm trying to learn related to taking all these videos and putting them into courses and videos. And I realized it's very, very easy for me to get stuck when I don't know the right way to handle a particular detail. And maybe not everybody struggles with that, but that's one thing I hope that these videos can help with, these webinars, is giving you some confidence that you know where to look, in this case, within the YouTube interface, and you feel like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So that's what we're trying to do here. So the goals of these webinars is to, as you know, is to walk you through the 4 essentials, the 4 proven methods of outreach: advertising, publishing newsletters, promoting special events, and then distributing recordings and transcripts of sermons and teaching. So after this week, we're going to take a week off, and we're going to come back and look at a topic related to advertising, specifically local search engine optimization. So I'm really excited about that topic and talk more about that before we're done today. But that gives you an idea of where we're going after today. I'm going to go ahead and put our links in the chat window. And in the links, you will see at the bottom some places where you can schedule meetings, some links you can use to schedule meetings with myself or with Holly, our project manager and training and support specialist, with Laura, if you're interested in learning anything more about any of our website upgrade services or website development services or outreach related services. An email address to contact for support, as well as a link to our help desk. Once again, I put in the link to the YouTube optimization checklist. So this is something you could potentially print out if you wanted. That would just summarize, here's all the different things that you should do to optimize your YouTube channel. What we're talking about today with the YouTube channel optimization is probably something you only need to revisit maybe once a year, whereas the video optimization checklist is something that you could easily be using every week. But when you have anytime you add a YouTube channel or a Facebook page or a whatever it is, that's one more moving part. And so I have seen YouTube channels where some of the information was out of date. It was pointing people to the wrong place. So pointing people to like the wrong website that they no longer had anymore. That would be an example. All right, and then also in the links there are links to the sermon publishing guides. So we have everything that we've covered in here, all 7 levels. So the first one being adding each new sermon recording on its own page. Secondly, organizing the sermon library by various categories. Thirdly, syndicating sermons via podcast platforms. Fourthly, providing full text sermon transcripts. 5, optimizing social media snippets and automating that. And then what we covered last week, which was optimizing YouTube videos. So today we're going to focus on optimizing your YouTube channel. So what I'm going to show you may not take as long. So this is a great day if you have some questions that are either related to what we covered today or what some of these previous steps. And we might have a little bit of extra time. With that said, I do have a hard stop at like 12:50 today because I need to get to another meeting. So let's dive in. Just a little bit more details about what's coming up. Starting on August 8th, we will be doing a 3-part series on local SEO, starting with how to claim your Google Maps profile and optimize your website for Church Near Me, and then going on to claiming other online directory listings. And then thirdly, implementing an online review request system, which I think if in many cases, I'm just kind of looking at who's on the meeting today. In many cases, you may have already done the first 2 steps, but in many cases, the biggest delta, as they say, the biggest difference between having a lower ranking search result and a higher ranking search result is the number of reviews. So the idea there is to come up with an easy system that you can use on a weekly basis. So that's what we'll be looking at in the month of August. And one thing I will say is if what I want to be able to do just to make our training as on our webinars and videos that we record as relevant as possible to churches. If any of you want to offer up your church as an example to go through this local SEO process, then please send me an email. And you can email me at daniel@5moretalents.com. And love to be able to use your church as an example of various facets of local SEO. Maybe that we can probably, in some cases, some of these, your church may have already done many of these things, but maybe not some of them. So probably, maybe that we can do 2 or 3 different church websites or local SEO as part of this. So send me an email, daniel@fivemoretalents.com, and I'd be happy to see where we could use your church as a case study for one or more of those things. All right, so we already went through these, so let's get into today's content. As we go through, as questions come up, go ahead and post them into chat, and I will pause between each of the different sections and see if there's a question that's relevant to that section. If it is relevant, I will go ahead and address that. If it's a little bit off topic, I'll come back to it later. So this is review from last time, why publish sermons on YouTube? So this is an infographic of the 51 most visited websites in the world as of January 2024. And you can see that YouTube is the second most popularly visited website in the world. And it looks like it gets about 35 billion visits per month. YouTube does have some social media features to it, most notably just the way that people can comment on things, but it's really a search engine. It's really probably more accurate to understand it as a search engine. So like we were talking about last week, it is very important to be very clear, right? YouTube is not the place to try to be clever in the sense of how you label things. It's interesting. I was driving down the highway with one of our daughters yesterday, and we started looking at the different billboards. And what we noticed is that the billboards are all generally they're very clear, right? And so that's an advertising thing, that if you want to be found, you need to be clear in how you title your videos. You need to be clear in your descriptions. It's social media is maybe more the place where you want to be clever and come up with titles that rhyme and alliterate and all that kind of thing. If you're dealing with a search engine, you just want to be clear and straightforward about this is what this is. This is, for example, if in the case of a sermon, this is a sermon about Noah's flood, the great flood in Genesis chapter 9, right? So clarity is what I'm trying to get across here. All right. So let's get into our first demonstration here. How to add a YouTube banner image. How to add a YouTube banner image. So as I was saying, one of the most challenging things about making these edits to your YouTube channel is just knowing where to go. And they don't always make it easy and clear. So when we're talking about the banner image, we're talking about this image right here. And now you can see that actually right here, there is this edit icon. So if you already have one in there, you can just click on that. Right? And that takes you to the right place. But there's a couple things you might want to check if you don't see that edit button. So the first thing is, you may, if you're like me, you might have more than one channel that you're associated with. At the very least, you you may find that you have, different accounts. So like I have a few different Google accounts, and I have different channels that they're associated with. So you want to make sure that you are in the correct account by clicking on this icon in the top right. All right, then the other thing is you can just click on edit, but notice that this takes me over to YouTube Studio. So that's at studio.youtube.com. And YouTube Studio is this whole other set of tools that are necessary to do the kinds of things that we're talking about today. So I'm trying to think if there's another way. Let's see, if we click on Customize Channel, that gets you there as well. All right, so that's a couple of different ways you can get there. Once you make sure that you're logged into your channel, then you can just click Customize Channel or just click the Edit. All right, so that's the first challenge that we've overcome, is how do you get there? And you can just click on branding. All right, so now you see that you can set a picture and then the banner image. So let's delve more into how to create a banner image. So once again, we're going to use Canva, and Canva has a YouTube banner design with different templates you can choose from. And all right, so I'm going to just do another variation of the banner image. So you can upload files. You can select from your computer. So I've already uploaded one here. I'm going to put this in there. And I think there's a way to set as the background. Right. So in this case, I'm not going to use one of the templates. There are a lot of templates available. But in this case, I'm just going to show you how you can create something simple without using a template. All right, so the next thing is I'm going to add a heading. Let's see, maybe I can drag it. There we go. And I'm going to change it to Montserrat, which is a font that we use commonly at 5 More Talents. And I'm going to call this Church Outreach Training. All right, still kind of playing around with different ideas. We'll go with that for today. All right, now I'm gonna try to make it so that it's more visible. When you're making these kinds of images, probably, in my opinion, the #1 goal is making sure that there is contrast so that you can actually read what it says. So that's the main thing I'm going for here. So this is a little bit tricky because we have an image that has some pretty dramatic difference between the dark areas of the image and the light areas of the image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try adding some effects here. And I do like this lift effect because it just adds sort of a fuzzy, diffuse shadow that provides some contrast when it's over a light area as well. All right, now let's go ahead and try this image, and you might be thinking to yourself, wow, that's a big image, and there's the text is so small. I did that intentionally because of what you're going to see next. And what you're going to see next is that these banner images are used across a wide range of screen sizes, from smartphones to television screens. So what I have found with these images is that you need to have the text vertically centered. You can see these grid lines appear. And you want to also have the text take up no more than, I would say, the middle 50%. So this one, I'm not sure. This one might end up getting cut off, so we might have to redo it a little bit. But let's try this. So I click the share button. I'm going to download a JPEG image. Oh, I got to click download. There we go. Okay. And save it there. All right, now I'm going to go back to YouTube, and I'm going to change the banner image. Okay, I was afraid of this. So you can see here that this is actually showing you how this is going to look on different screen sizes. So there's the TV, there's the desktop, and then there's all devices. So I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to make the text a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get it to go on 2 lines. So let's see if we go like this. There we go. Now I'm just going to move it. So that's, once again, it's centered vertically and horizontally. And we're going to try that again. Okay, this one is much better. Even the viewable on all devices, you can clearly read all the text. I'm going to go ahead and click done. And then click publish. And let's go to look at the channel now. And now we have a new banner in there. All right. I'll probably continue to try out different things over time, but this gives an idea. I think for a church, what you'd probably want to, one of the things you'd want to think about is that in your banner image, you could have a very clear text of when people can come to the worship service. You could just put an image, but this would also be a good place just to put when the worship times are, kind of like a road sign for the church. That's kind of a theme of what we're looking at today, is what are some ways that once people have found your YouTube channel that you can increase their engagement and likelihood that they're then going to be able to easily go from seeing something on your YouTube channel to actually coming to a worship service. All right, so like I said, put any questions in the chat if you have them. Let's go on to the next item. Update your YouTube About tab. And actually, YouTube doesn't really necessarily have an About tab anymore. They've kind of changed it into this little line here, and you can click more. And this is what people see. By the way, that leads to another little point that is applicable to this, but also to lots of other things when you're working on your YouTube channel or on your website, is there is a difference between what you see when you're logged in and you're logged out. So one little couple ways that you can get around this. One is to use the incognito window or equivalent feature of your web browser. So for example, I can paste this here and I can now see it says I'm not signed in. So this gives me a more accurate portrayal of what this looks like when just to the general public. So how do you edit this about box? So this is where I need to remember exactly how we do this. Let's go back to customize channel. I was just doing this a couple days ago, but where'd it go? Let's click on settings. All right, I give up. Let me use this as an opportunity to open up one of the guides that I made. Okay. Okay, so you go to studio.youtube.com and click customization. Ah, okay. We were very close to it. It was right under my nose. Okay. So back in YouTube Studio, and I just under customization, I just click on basic info. So you can see here, I've given the channel a name, and you actually can change the name of the channel. One recommendation I would recommend for a church is to include the city and the state that your church is in the name of the channel, so that people can know that immediately where the church is located. And then you can add a description here. And then I definitely encourage you to add some links. And to do so, you just need to give the link a title and then a URL as well. And then once you're done, you'll just click the publish button. And when people click on more, they'll be able to see those other places that they can, for example, learn more about the church. You know, the most common thing that churches are doing with a YouTube channel is putting recordings of their worship services or the sermons. So in addition to linking to the homepage of your church, a couple other things I would consider would be linking to the page which has your sermon library, and then another one that has your worship times and locations. So it's actually very simple once you know where to look. And if you haven't looked at this in a while, I encourage you to do so, because you may find that some information is out of date. I've seen before where a church, you know, put their meeting place, time, and location, and it was the previous location and it was the wrong time, right? So that's just going to cause confusion, obviously. Okay, let's look at the next topic. Really, the next two topics are tied together and they both have to do with playlists. But I do see something here in chat. All right, so let's just going back to updating your YouTube About tab. How does adding links in YouTube help SEO? It's a great question. So I'm going to take a look at this. Take a look at the code here. Okay, so I would say yes and no. So one of the things you'll notice here is that they've added into the code, it says no follow. And my understanding of no follow is that it is something which signals to the search engine that it should not treat this link as a vote for that website. So in general, with Google and other search engines, anytime another website links to your website, it's going to count as a vote in favor of your website, which is going to tend over time to push your website up in the rankings. But it looks like YouTube has purposefully made it so that these are not going to give you that vote, which is kind of annoying. But this does, it's still worthwhile and it's still important to make sure this information is correct because you don't want to send people in the wrong direction. I am curious though, I wonder if they do that for all links or just to those links. And let's see, I'm trying to find one that might have more links. Let's try this one.
Level 2. Putting recordings of all these.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, so I added this link today. And okay, yeah, it does that. It's adding a no follow to that as well. So it's not going to help SEO from that standpoint in the sense of like, being a vote from YouTube in favor of your website, but it is, the point is that if you're following, going back to our guide here, assuming you're following the steps in level 6 where you're optimizing your YouTube videos, those are going to make them easier for strangers to find. And so you just want to make sure that if they appreciate what they're seeing, that they have a clear path of what to do next, a call to action, that something they can click on that will take people to your church. Okay, great question. Let's move on to the next topic, organizing videos into a YouTube playlist. Oh, wow, I mixed singular and plural there. That was interesting. But organizing videos into one or more YouTube playlists. So let's go to dashboard. I think this is something where I think it's actually, well, let's go to content. Here we go. Here I am in YouTube Studio. So they have a tab for videos, as well as a tab for playlists. And then there's a button here to create a new playlist. So let's say, for example, that the church is beginning a new sermon series. Then here is a good place where you could create it. You could just create that new playlist, and then you could even add existing videos into there. All right, so that's one way to create a new playlist. There's also a way when you're creating a video that you can create a new playlist there. So that's how you create a playlist. Let's see. Let me see if there are some older videos. I could do a demonstration here. Let's see. So I think, let me see if I can, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but hopefully this will give you a little bit more detail. So I'm going to try creating a playlist about using the WordPress block editor. And then I can do a search. Okay, so here's a couple of videos there that match that search. And now I can go ahead and create that new playlist. All right, it's a very simple example, glossing over a number of additional things that could be done. But we now have that playlist. And now the next step is that those playlists can be featured on the YouTube channel homepage. So if you remember that example from last week, I believe it was, of Oakland Hills Community Church that has a wonderful, well-organized channel homepage, and it has a great layout. There's a series on the book of Genesis. There's a series on the Lord's Prayer, a series on the 10 Commandments, and so on and so forth. All right, so the way that you do that is you, once again, when you're in YouTube Studio, come over here to customization. And then there's featured sections. So I'm just going to click add section. There's actually lots of different types of sections that you can add. And so I'm going to try to add this new one I just created. All right, and then you can position that where you want it to go. Now, one little thing, let's if we view the channel, I'm not sure it's going to show up. It does show up. Okay. And it does, when you do this, it does respect whether the individual videos are set to be public or unlisted. I tend to do a lot with unlisted videos so that you can share the videos with 5 More Talents customers, but not necessarily have them visible to just anyone searching on YouTube. That's one of those little details that I'm trying to sort through. What's the best way to do that right now? But you can see it did add, actually, it looks like it just added one video from there, and it's not showing the other one, but now there's that section on the homepage. So yeah, I'm going to keep tweaking this homepage and figure out the best way to organize it. But this points you in the right direction. You go to YouTube Studio, customization, and then layout. And there's all different kinds of sections that you can add. Something I would definitely recommend if, when you can do it, is to have a video spotlight, which welcomes people to the channel. It could be like a welcome from the pastor or something like that. And you can see you can do that here as well. All right, the last step we're going to look at today is adding keywords to your YouTube channel. So this is unlike some of the other things we've been looking at today. I've really been focused on increasing engagement with your YouTube channel. This is going back again to increasing awareness of your YouTube channel. And one way you can do that is by adding keywords. And I believe this is in YouTube Studio under settings. And there's this channel tab. And you can see here, you can add keywords. So for a church, you might want to, say church. You might want to say, Reformed theology, Presbyterian, whatever kind of keywords like that. There's definitely evidence that people do search for those kind of specific types of churches, Calvinism, Bible believing, different things like that. Those are all kinds of good examples of keywords a church might want to use. And trying to think if there's anything else I want to add to ours today. It's basically just as simple as typing them in, and it kind of converts them into these little blocks that you can work with. I'm drawing a blank on anything that I want to add right now, but it's just as simple as typing those in. And it might help. It might help some additional people find the channel. Right. So there's a lot more that could be said about YouTube channel optimization, but this at least points you in the right direction. The big thing is make sure you know about YouTube Studio, because a lot of these things, as you've seen, are in the YouTube Studio interface. That brings us to our Q&A time. So if you have any questions, now is a great time to ask them.
Do the chats stay in the recording when you are when you post the recordings? Do the chats stay in there as well?
The chats from the Zoom video?
Yes. Because you post such good stuff. I'm curious
if
that's in there as well.
I mean, it doesn't go into YouTube. I don't know. Does anybody else know the answer to that?
Excuse me. I have looked for them in prior recordings and they're not there.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I think what you did, Daniel, was you copied the chat and pasted it somewhere else that does get carried forward. I can't remember how you did that though.
Yeah. Well, in that vein, I'll post links again to the how-to guides and the YouTube optimization checklist. So those are now in the chat again.
Oh, on that, there is I believe we figured this out in a previous session, but there's a button in your on at least in my chat window, the has all dots. If you click on it, there's a button that says save chat, and you'll like download. I think it downloads the chat.
There you go.
Oh, good to know. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jeffrey. All right. So next webinar is going to be not next week, but 2 weeks from today. And we're going to focus on getting started with local SEO. So this is a very, very important topic of high value to churches. We have, I think, about at least over 20 churches that we've worked with over the past several years on local SEO. And so what we're going to be doing in these upcoming webinars in August is basically giving a overview of how we do what we do, right? And the reason why this is so important, I think, is because of this really astounding and amazing and great trend that we see of that more and more people are searching for church near me. So you can see that April 2020, there were maybe about 1 million searches per month in the United States for church near me. As of March 2024, there were about 4 million, so about 3 or 4 times as many. So this is a significant change which has happened since 2020. Tried to go back further, but this was as far back as the Google tool would let me go. So more people than ever before are searching online for a church near them. And so local SEO is how you can, well, it's one of the ways that you can show up for a church near me. The other way being paid advertising. But we're going to start with local SEO because you should be doing that anyway, even if you do paid advertising as well. And let's see. Ron asks, do links in your church page to YouTube help SEO? Well, they help YouTube's SEO. They help YouTube's search visibility so that more people know about YouTube. I have seen people talk about how there's benefit in maybe embedding videos on your web pages because it keeps people on those pages longer. And that is a positive signal to the search engines that you're providing valuable content. So I definitely would recommend that when you do record videos to include those on the pages of your website. And what else was I going to say? Oh, okay, yes. So I just want to wrap up by just kind of giving you a couple of sneak peeks that we'll talk about more in August. So one of them is that we are creating a church outreach group, and it is going to have a place for y'all to discuss and interact with the 5 More Talents team. And it's also going to have a classroom section where over time we're going to have all these different webinars organized into courses. And then I also just wanted to mention that you may or may not have heard of the Bible Answers Project, but this is kind of a separate project that that I'm involved in, and 5 More Talents is involved in helping to develop this. But if you haven't heard of it, go ahead and check it out, BibleAnswersProject.org. And we're putting the finishing touches on the first version of the website, and it should be coming soon, sometime in August. Lord willing, at the beginning of August is what we're moving towards. But anyway, so that's another exciting thing related, and there's a link to that in the chat. So, all right, well, that is all we have time for today. Hope to see you again in a couple of weeks.
Okay, thanks, Daniel.
All
Very
right.
helpful.
Thank you,
All right.
Daniel.
Yep. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
You.